everyone. This is Susan K. Cook speaking. I'm the host, and I am so excited today because I have an amazing guest. Her name is Louise Reiss-James, and she's fascinating. Hello, Lou. It's so good to have you here.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolutely, mind-bending to be told that I'm going to be interviewed by somebody as awesome as you. So thank you so much.
I love you for that. Thank you. And you look amazing. Look at your hair. How did you manage to get it to stick up like that?
Lots and lots of gel and hairspray.
Tell you what, it looks fantastic. It really goes with the look, I can tell you now. And I love the shirt as well. I want one of those. I'm going to have to go and find out where you've been shopping.
No, this is a one-off. This is a one-off, sorry. Okay. I like to be unique.
You are unique. So, Lou, let's get into this and let's start to talk about you, the unique you that you are. Tell me a little bit, and the public, how you actually got into the type of work that you're doing now, and if you could please explain it to everyone.
Sure. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what I do, I channel, I bring through information, I work with people, bringing messages through from the others, from the higher energies. Also, I've written a couple of books as well, which has also been downloaded information. How did I get into all of this? Well, I could go right back to when I was a wee lass, where I had a Scottish grandmother who used to call me Faye. And I used to think she was calling me Faye as an F-A-Y-E, not F-E-Y, as in the Gaelic word Faye. I used to go to my mom and I used to say, "Mommy, why is Granny calling me Faye? My name's Louise." And Mom would always say, no, dear, don't worry. It's just Granny. I grew up later to understand that she was telling me that I had second sight. So right from a very early age, I had knowledge of other energies. I would have my best friends. Now people will call these imaginary friends, but to me they were more real than at times my own sort of life at the moment, because we would go places. I've been to timelines of the Americas when the cowboys and Indians scenario was going on. I felt the piercing of an arrow and bullet through myself. I've touched the rawness of the dust that's there. I have flown in spaceships and commanded them. I've actually been in the command centers and all the rest of it, and I have done this. I've heard my name being called from the skies without anything there. A beautiful African blue sky, a couple of clouds in there, and I've heard my name being called so loudly, so audibly, that I ran inside thinking it was my father calling me, and he told me quite certainly that it was my imagination and that I should stop bothering him. So I've had all of these experiences right from a very early age, very aware of energy, grew up in a very religious family, believe it or not, church-wise and all the rest of it. And I can get into that in another story because that is quite detailed. But I shut everything down when I was 11. And then when I met my now wife in 2008, she did some energy work on me, and everything got realigned. It was almost like the static that had been in my head finally found that radio station, that frequency that they could communicate to me, and everything started to make sense. And so for the last decade, I have been doing what I'm doing.
And can you explain to everybody what it is that you've been doing, what you've been doing? Because this is the part that I adore about you, and the fascination that many people have towards you. Tell them.
I work with higher energy. I channel information by tapping into ascended masters, galactic energies like the Galactic Federation. And I bring messages through for people to assist humanity, to challenge the concepts of what we believe in and why do we believe in it. I write books that literally take a belief system that's been around for ages, and it challenges that concept. It challenges the truths that have been out on the internet. And I'll be honest with you, I sometimes don't want to put it forward, because it's like, well, I'm now challenging that concept. I'm now challenging the common truth, the common belief, and some people don't like it. But when I see the effect that it has with people, when I see how people change through the personal sessions that they have with me, or group sessions that we do, through workshops, through all the different things that we do, that I've worked with, it's life-changing for me as I see their lives changing. It's my drug of life.
You know, the other day when I met you, Lou, you were explaining how you just recently been working with a person, and how you've been helping this person so much in the way that you actually channel and do these things. Can you explain a little bit the process of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So when I channel, and especially if I'm doing like what I call a personal or a one-on-one session with somebody, I ask them to come with their questions. I ask them to come with that which is really on top of their mind, what they're dealing with at the moment. And then I go into meditation space. I allow my energy to sit quietly on the side, which makes room for the Ascended Master or whichever energy is the most relevant through the Christed energy to communicate to that person sitting in front of me. And then that information comes through. If, for argument's sake, if it's my gatekeeper, if it's a Safita, who's also known as a Dharma Saint Germain, he will come through and he will ask you questions that I have no idea what's going on about. He will get you to go into your innermost secret places, to bring out all of those parts that are blocking you, that are defective, that you hate about yourself because you've always been told maybe this, that, or the next thing. Or it could be something of a belief system that you've always had that's been actually infiltrated through your life through generations back. Because your family's always believed it. And so what happens is after a session with the Ascended Masters, after a session with me channeling the information, people I've come back, so what I call woken up. And because I don't remember anything that is said in those personal one-on-one sessions, because it's personal to the individual, not personal to me. So I come back and they go, oh my God, that is just like, wow, and I'm like going, so you obviously got what you needed. And they're like, this is fantastic. This is brilliant. I recently in Australia, I had somebody turn around to me and they said that this 1 hour with me in channel, assisting them, had answered the questions that had set them free for the rest of their life. And I'm like, OMG, because that, you can imagine now that puts a little bit of pressure on me, or at least I sort of think it does, because like, what happens if, and that's when the Ascended Masters, when my gatekeeper Safita and also Katumi that I channel, they kind of said to me, they said, it's not your responsibility. Information has gone forward. It's up to the individual now to take that information and work with it. And that's what I love, because then when I see people working with it, then they come back to me and they go, okay, I've got this far. Now what else do I do? And I can progress with people and take them place to place, step to step, higher and higher, until one day they turn around and say, you know what, I don't need to come back because I've got it. I finally got it. And to me, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate, to be able to see somebody and like literally like a parent going, you're out in the world on your own now. So yeah, I don't know if that explains it. Yeah, it's sometimes.
It does. I love it. And you were talking about, and I use this word a lot in my work, and it's the awakening, when you sort of almost see people, they even change their persona, they look different.
Yeah.
And that's very rewarding, and it's wonderful to know that you're in that work where you can actually heal people into understanding themselves and understanding how their mind works and why. So moving on from there, I'm fascinated to know more about your books, because you've written a few, and I would love for you to share with us the names of your books and the content of your books and how they help people.
Yep, no worries. I'm going to see if I can get somebody to just pass me a book, and I'll be able to show it on screen if that's okay. But my very, very first book that I wrote was what I call a co-joined authorship. And that was with way back in 2010 when I was channeling Safita, and he and I wrote the book, and I don't know if you can see that. It's called Self-Mastery and Abundance. And it's just a really simple explanation of what self-mastery is and how self-mastery in our lives is so, so important, because it affects every part of the abundance in our life. And a lot of people sort of think abundance, money, but it's not. It's the holistic part of who we are. So it affects abundance, affects our personal life, our social life, our work life, our our finances, but also our health, how we view our own individual internal self. There's so many parts of the pie that abundance touches. And so this book touches all on that. And as I say, I wrote that back in 2010. I have a few hard copies left, but it is I do also do it online as well. The second book that I've written just recently, and this was more a case of I was just sitting, and it wasn't so much channeled, it was more information downloaded to me by the Lyran community that I'm connecting with. And this is called the Lyran Disclosure. And again, this is information, and this is, again, where I was referring to earlier on, where I sometimes write stuff that is in, it's detrimental, not detrimental, sorry, it's in opposition to what's on the internet. Because this information came through, and when I finished reading it, I thought, well, I wonder what's on the internet. I wonder what is out there already on the Lyrans. And when I read what was there, I went, oh, oops, my stuff is so different, you know? And I almost didn't publish it. I almost didn't put it out there because it was in conflict. And there's stuff in there that points fingers at what we call the light worker community, because, you know, we like to think as light workers, and I actually refer to myself as a worker of light or a worker of energy. You know, we tend to think that we're special, and we're actually not that special. We're just people that have got a deeper sense of awareness, a deeper sense of knowledge. And this book that I've just written kind of highlights that, and kind of highlights the fact that there is an illicit or an illegal inference in the work community that we like to call the light worker community, that's blinded so many of us to what's actually going on. We've become those, oh, she'll be right, you know, and we need to get out of that. So this book is a disclosure. It's part one of a series. So the second book is actually in the process. I'm up to chapter 2 on that. So yeah, so really excited.
Oh, that's fantastic. You speak about Safita,
yes.
Safita, can you explain Safita to us?
Explain him to you? Wow. Absolutely. All right. His first incarnation, or first introduction to humanity, is known as the Saint Germain energy. And as Saint Germain, he brought through the transmutational violet flame. And that was and all the teachings, the I am teachings that he brought through, etc., about being in yourself, transmuting, taking the old and bringing it into the new. Then he was also known as a Dharmist through somebody else who channels in America. You know, he firstly also came through as the Saint Germain, and then a Dharma Saint Germain through me. And then after a while, he said, no, my name now, I want you to call me Safita. And he gave me the explanation of Safita, and I'll see if I can quickly find it in this book that I first wrote, because he did actually write it to me there. And he gave me, okay, I don't want to spend too much time on this.
So that's actually fantastic. So Safita is Saint Germain, and now you found it, you can actually explain to us a little bit more.
Yeah, so basically Safita is he said to me, he said, my new name brings the emphasis of and it sounds really heavy, but it's not. He says, I'm a destroyer of old. I'm a breaker of patterns. I'm a, you know, and he went on a little bit like this, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to know that. And he says, but I am a creator of new. I am a bringer of fresh energy. I am the bringer of the new information. And it's really intriguing that over the years that I've worked with him as Sophita, I still love the old energy of Adamus and Adamus Saint Germain. And at times when I'm in my own sort of personal space, I'll communicate to him in that energy. But as Sophita, his teachings that have come through, and he's a teacher, it's the hard line. It's like, wake up. It's like, there is no room for patsying around, it's do or don't. There is no try. You either are in the I am that I am, or you're not. You either are doing this or you're not. And so he's quite hard in the teacher, but he does it wrapped up with so much love, so much compassion, because having lived as a human for so many years as the Saint Germain in the sort of European world, the sort of Europe, France, England, etc., as Saint Germain, Comte Saint Germain, he understands what it's like to be human. He understands the frailties, the temptations, the lusts of the flesh, so to speak. And let me tell you what, he loves a good cigar and he loves a good single malt.
That sounds really good. He sounds like my kind of guy. I must go see him sometime.
Oh, I tell you what, come on round and bring it on. We'll have a good time.
Maybe you'll have some Prosecco. I quite like that too.
There you go.
So, Lou, something I'm really interested to know more about as well, and I'm sure the public will love to hear this, is where did you first become aware of energy?
When did I first become aware of energy? I think it would have been earlier on. I mentioned that I was in the backyard of my at home in Africa. I must have been about 6 or 7 years of age, and I heard my name being called, and I thought it was my dad, and I ran inside. Well, I went back outside, and I remember going right to this place where I'd been standing and playing around, because I was a pretty lonely child. In as much as I played, I didn't have many friends, but I wasn't lonely as in I was quite satisfied doing that. And I remember looking up at the sky, and I knew that there was someone or something watching me. I couldn't see them, but I knew they could see me. And I remember saying, okay, I hear you. What do you want? And it was from that moment on that I would have these little experiences where I'd go to friends' birthday parties, and they'd say, oh, guess, just who can guess what this is? And I'd put my hands on it, and I'd guess it. And it would be, as soon as it didn't become fun, because Louise would always get it right. I remember a couple of times where people were trying to surprise me. I remember one particular time where I was going out with somebody, and they wanted to get a portrait done of me. And, they were doing things nobody told me anything. And I just remember looking at them the one day, and I just turned around and said, please do me a favor. The worst thing that anybody could do for me is give me a full body or this huge big portrait of my face looking at me, because there's nothing worse than I can think of. Seriously, that turns me cold. And they looked at me and got so upset. They didn't talk to me for about 3 days. And then they finally came back and they said, how did you know I was going to do that? And I'm like, do what? Because by then I'd forgotten about what I'd said. So, that was me sort of coming in and tapping in to things. But because I was in the church as well, I shut it down. On that side. But also in the church, believe it or not, I started to speak what the charismatic people call tongues, okay, which I've now learned is more a galactic language. Also, what I noticed is that I would go up to people and I'd look at them, and I would be able to read their energy. And I would say, okay, you need to learn to do da-da-da, and I would da-da. And then I would always end it off, thus the Spirit says, or this is what Spirit is telling you. Because I didn't want to come across as being weird. So that's basically where I started connecting with energy to begin with. Right from that stage of in my teenager years, and then as I said earlier on, I'd be 3-4 years of age in my sandpit playing with energy beings who were my imaginary friends. But as I say, they were more real to me than my own brother and sister. because we did things that were real to me, you know. I mean, have you ever allowed yourself to flow up into the night sky, and you just allow yourself to expand, and you feel the black velvet of the evening sky? It is that darkness isn't dark. It's not black. It's like, if you brush the velvet one way, you can see the blues and greens and golds and all the flecks of color. And if you brush it the other way, you've got the reds and all the different things. And you know, so like those real rustic colors, it's so different. And the stars themselves, when you touch the energy of the stars, and it's like cold electrical current coming through you, but it's not harmful. It's just like, ooh, like ice, you know. At least that's what it was like to me when I was 6, 7, 8 years of age, when I used to have these experiences. So, and I wasn't dreaming. I was lying on my bed. My sister was on the bed there next to me, and I would be going, Jean, can you feel this? And she'd be like, don't be stupid. So, you know, yeah, I've always played with it like that until I was older. And then I got into the church and I shut things down because it was evil and blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
So I hear you saying that as well. And I understand about imaginary friends. And because I work with inner child systems and things like that, I totally understand where you can actually be wiped out your imagination because people say that's not true, it's not possible. That is detrimental in the development of this incredible force that you have. You talk about yourself as Fey, F-E-Y, and I can relate to that as well, because you have this incredible Celtic lineage that has enhanced what you have. And I love you for that. And I can totally empathize with that as well. I'll tell you that another time when you're interviewing me one day. But there's something else I'd love to ask you. And has this choice of life affected your family relationships?
I would love to say that no, it hasn't. But I have to, if I go really, really deep into myself, I think it has. I could never tell my mother, who unfortunately has passed on now, what I did. I felt that if I did, it would really put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, for us, because there was already a bit of a tenuous relationship, because I'd obviously had come out as gay, and I'd married a woman, and she was very, very religious, and it very much connected in with her church, and her church actually told her to not have anything to do with me. Thankfully, she didn't listen, and we still kept a relationship going, but it was tenuous right up until the last moment, where the love that was between us just overflowed, and we were able to have a really, really good goodbye. But that's a different story. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that in there. But so there was a bit of a tension between my mom and I with what I did. She didn't fully understand, and I called it mentoring others. I would say that I would mentor others. I would help others through their life upsets. My brother and my sister, I'm very open with. It's on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. I share what I do. Neither of them have commented on it. It must be there because my stuff goes on their news feeds. But there is a undercurrent between us that just can't seem to be crossed over. I don't know what that's all about. I have tried to talk to them about what I do, and it's just shut. It's just like, it's almost like I can see these energetic hands going da 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 da. You know, so I suppose in a manner of, in some ways, what I've done is I've said, well, I've tried, so I'm not going to keep flogging a dead horse. If they want to know what I'm doing, that's fine. Not a problem. Come ask me. I'll talk to you till the cows come home. I'll explain what it is. I'll even demonstrate what I do. But because my brother is, again, in the church, what I do is evil. It's sinful. It's separating me from God. I'm going to go to hell, etc., etc. My sister's also slightly religious, but she's not as religious. So she still would probably have a bit of a problem with that. But in saying that, my in-law family totally love me. They think I'm cool.
And we all love you too. We love you.
They understand what I do, and they absolutely think that it's the bee's knee, so to speak, you know. And so I'm really blessed like that, you know. But you know what? I still love my family. I still adore my brother. I still adore my sister. And I keep putting out that we will have the relationship that we had when we were kids.
I'm certain that you will. You know, power of positivity, these things work out beautifully in the end.
Absolutely.
Something I'd love to hear more about as well is you touched on, we're both in New Zealand at the moment, and currently while we're having this interview, but you touched on Australia, and what you were doing there hasn't really been exposed in this interview. And it would be lovely for you to share that with us.
Sure. We've been pulled by the energy for a period of time to start integrating and connecting with Australia, because the people there are hungry. They're hungry for something different. And so we connected with with some people in the sort of like Sunshine Coast and Coffs Harbour area, all along that. And I know it's a really long piece of coastline, but we've been sort of going up and down there. And we've been running workshops. We've done the Palladian activation workshop. I say we because this is in partnership with Heather, who hopefully you will sort of meet soon. And so we've been doing the Palladian activation, of which in that I channel or bring through a Palladian mentor of ours who is Platorans, who has taught us the Palladian activation, which is a healing modality. So basically we're teaching others to work with this modality to become hose pipes for the universal energy to work through to assist others on their healing journey. And we take the aspect that we are not healers. No human can heal another person. It's just impossible. But you have humans that can be so connected with universal energy as the pure, unadulterated hose pipe who just get out of the way and say, use me. They screw into the universe and they screw into the receiver, and they just let that energy flow through them. And that's how what I consider myself, a host pipe. We've done workshops on self-mastery. We've done Learn to Channel, which is, we call it unlocking the keys to channeling. And Katumi comes through and does that one. Self-mastery is done by Safita. So all of these workshops are ultimately, our drive is to empower the human to take back their power, so they don't have to keep running to other people, ourselves or anyone else. And then again, I've got my personal time with people, which is, I value that time. So I don't just feed it out here and there. I actually do value it, and to book it is something that is, people have got to want to do that, because it's not cheap. Sorry, just sort of, no, I'm not sorry. It is that, and so I have this time with them where their lives are changed. We go through it and we say, well, I get them to bring what it is that they need to know, what it is that they're looking for, the assistance that they need, because they must understand it's not a magic wand. There's homework that needs to be done in these workshops and in these personal sessions. There's stuff they need to do. They need to unlock. They need to take ownership of.
Absolutely. The thing is, Lou, this is a very interesting part of what you and your wonderful partner for life, Heather, are doing, your wife, and I congratulate you for that. We're coming to the end of this interview now, but obviously I'm going to interview you and Heather together, which is really exciting for me and for the public. I would love for everybody to know that you can actually find Lou and Heather on itiscosmic.com, and you can actually find all of their different lessons, their videos, and everything to do with their books and their workshops and what they're actually planning to do. Further to that, we'll actually be speaking about their tours as well, because Heather is wonderful with this, and of course Lou is her abiding partner and actually always with her. I could speak to you for hours, Lou, and I know that we can actually do this again constantly, because you are a fascinating woman. And very
well, thank you very much. You make it so easy. You do. You make it so easy to talk. So,
just before we go, Lou, I would love for you to give one little bit of advice in 3 words to your public who are listening to you, and then we're going to wind this up.
Be true to yourself.
I
Be
love
true
that.
to yourself.
So from Susan K. Cook, your host, and saying goodbye. Remember, it is cosmic.com. You'll find the beautiful Lou and Heather Reiss-James on their wonderful website that a good friend of mine, Heather Stanker, has actually created for them. So I'm saying goodbye now, and I'll leave it up to Lou to say farewell.
Au revoir. Au revoir. We'll see you soon.